बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
So we are in a comfortable position as of now on energy security. I'm talking of India. Current position of stock is comfortable. And our stock is also being replenished every day. There is no shortage of LPG or LNG in India. There is no need for any panic. But as we analyze our oil reserves, gas reserves, and look at all options globally for crude and LNG, there are reports that at least 2 Russian oil tankers that were initially expected to dock in East Asia have changed course to India, signaling in a way that Russian oil is back on the table. The change, of course, comes amidst great turmoil in global energy markets as the war in the Middle East widens with no end in sight. So, is Russian oil, ladies and gentlemen, back on the table? Today's major development is the hitting of the oil pipeline which runs through the territory of Georgia, carrying Azerbaijani crude for Israel. So we have to look at all other alternative oil routes, including the one which is on the map, for our own purposes. Now, there's no morality, ideology, ethics in this. We've got to be practical. Should we bring Russian oil back to India? I'm joined by Professor Madhav Nalapat, great strategic voice from India. And we have strategic affairs and governance expert from Ukraine, Olena Trigub, who has a Ukrainian view on this matter. Olena, see, the world is going to go through a very, very difficult situation on oil. Large countries like India with huge demand, huge internal consumption, we'll have to make arrangements for our people. There is a growing view in India that we must aggressively now buy Russian oil and buy it at the prices that work for us and work for Russia. Rest of the matters can come later. What do you think, Olena?
Well, I would like to respond to what you just said about the fact that you say that it's not about morality. Yeah, let's not talk about morality. Let's not talk that Indian money will be funding the killings of Ukrainians. But let's talk about practicality here. When you buy Russian oil, you are funding a very aggressive regime. You are funding a country which is starting wars. And what is happening now in the Middle East, it's actually the logical continuation of what Russia did when Russia started invading Ukraine and the whole international order collapsed. And Russia will use your money to make more weapons. Russia will use more money to destabilize world even more, to help different other authoritarian countries like Iran, like North Korea, to start more wars in Europe, for example, against the Baltic states. All these are long-term consequences, but if India is not concerned about the global peace, then India should buy Russian oil.
Well, I'll let Professor Nalapat respond to that. I personally think today that the United States of America is the biggest threat to world peace. And Donald Trump is the greatest global destabilizer. This war that we are seeing has not been started by Vladimir Putin. This has been started by your very own Donald Trump and by the United States of America. And it is entirely an American war, right? So I don't think that argument holds. And if we were to be buying oil from Venezuela, that is American oil literally, we would be funding America's war if that one puts a moral argument lens to it. Is Russian oil back?
You can buy from Brazil, from Africa. There are other countries that can sell you oil.
Yeah.
Well, Professor Nalapat.
Yeah, Arnab, I'd like to point out that if a big block of oil is taken out from the market, prices spike. Now, for time being, prices are spiking because of the problem of supply of crude through the Persian Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz is almost closed now. Hardly 3 or 4 ships have got the courage to go through Strait of Hormuz, which is about a few % of what it earlier was. The fact of the matter is that Europe has committed a great harm to itself by blocking off access to Russian crude and other supplies, and that has hurt the economies of all the European countries very, very badly. If I were in a Ukrainian situation, I would say very clearly, whatever you have now, you make a peace with Russia, because quite frankly, this war has been very costly for the people of Ukraine. They have suffered terribly, and I think that suffering needs to stop. As far as India is concerned, Mr. Gurumurthy is right. We have not committed to not buying Russian oil. Russians have been age-old friends of India, and we have maintained that relationship through decades, right from 1950s. So I'd like to point out, Arnab, that in this situation, where there's a complete blockage to the Strait of Hormuz, Russian oil is a good idea. Here's where you should reinvigorate that Vladivostok to Chennai, that sea route that was staged. Only one problem that we have is we were reliant on Chabahar for accessing a lot of supplies. Now Chabahar obviously is off the table, but the shining, what do I say, silver lining here is very clear, and that is the United States and Israel do not expect this war to last very long, maybe 10 days to 15 days at the most. And after that war is over, things can settle back to normal. Chabahar can open under a regime which is not beholden to a clerical establishment there, which is anti-Israel, anti-US. So I'm quite hopeful that in 10 to 15 days, maybe a day or two more here and there, you're going to see a resolution of the issue to the satisfaction of all democracies, and you're going to see a situation in which this very hated clerical regime run by a supreme leader. Can you imagine the irony of it? The Iranian people revolted in 1979 to get rid of the despotic Shah and replace him with a democratic government. And they got the despotic Khomeini, and now then Khamenei, and now who knows who's going to come next, covering in some basement somewhere for fear of being murdered. So I would like to say to my Ukrainian friend, please, for heaven's sake, follow the wisdom of India and do not have enemies in that situation. Prime Minister said back in 2022, if you remember, this is an era of peace. And in an era of peace, countries should be working together with each other instead of fighting each other. So that is what India looks for. And India and Russia have been age-old friends for a very long time, and that friendship is going to continue. And also, I think we are going to find a big increase in the Russian exports of oil to India, given that there are shortages in the Middle East through Strait of Hormuz, at least for the next 10 to 15 days. So I would like to say there is a question of ethics involved. The ethics in India's case, feeding 1.4 billion people. The ethics in India's case, making sure 1.4 billion people have energy security. That's not a small proportion of the market. That's a huge proportion of the human population, 1/6 of it. So that is an ethical question. That's a moral question. How can a leader say, I have no right to do anything helpful for 1.4 billion people for sake of a faraway country like Ukraine? It makes no sense at all. So I'd like to say I am all for buying Russian oil, and I hope that
on the first point which Olina responded to when I said that it's not the time to take a moral position on the purchase of oil. In fact, Olina, would you agree with me that this military action and this assassination of Ayatollah Khomeini and the attack on Iran actually helps Russia? Because helps Russia because it makes one, Putin look like a peacenik. Secondly, it is a vindication for Russia that in the pursuit of territorial or strategic interests, right, rule of law, global rule of law is not something which is going to hold back any country from pursuing its own national interest. So the same argument being put in a way now by Marco Rubio, Olina, when he says that rule of law be damned, ideas of democracy
Yeah.
be damned, we will just do what is required to win. So this position being taken by America actually in a way therefore vindicates Trump's aggressiveness, doesn't it? Putin's aggressiveness, doesn't it?
Well, this is what I was saying, is that this demise of the global rules started with actually Russia, because not only Russia went into Ukraine to invade it, Russia occupied Ukrainian territory, Russia added parts of Ukraine into its constitution. Something like this has not been done since Adolf Hitler. And this is something which was done before the end of the World War II, because we all agreed that we will not be taking each other territory and annex each other and so on. But Russia has done it. And of course, after this, Russia wanted to break the international rule-based order. Russia wanted just to have a world where strong countries with the military will be dictating what is happening, and nothing else matters. And of course, Donald Trump in this whole situation between Russia and Ukraine, does he support Russia or does he support Ukraine? No, Donald Trump supports Russia. Donald Trump said many times that he likes Putin, he is a friend of Russia, not friend of Ukraine. It's very clear. So now when it's very clear that he also likes the way Putin attacked Ukraine, the way Putin demonstrated that he doesn't care about United Nations or anything like that, about EU. Donald Trump likes this, and he does the same. This is obvious, but does India like this? Does India like Donald Trump and Putin? If India wants to say that it's a democratic country. Ukraine is a democratic country, and Ukraine is a very peaceful nation. We were very peaceful until we were attacked by Russia. And right now, we cannot make peace with Russia just because Russia doesn't want to make peace. Russia wants to kill all Ukrainians and destroy the whole Ukraine. It's existential war. And watch Russian television and listen what they're talking about, even killing Ukrainian children, because they say when Ukrainian children will grow up, they will hate Russia. So it's important to eradicate the whole nation. So please explain, how should we make peace? Should we kill ourselves and then it will be peace? Or what is your idea? Because I don't fully understand.
No, I don't have a idea about it. But what I'm saying, Olena, is that we have a practical situation where we have huge oil requirement, huge gas requirement. We are the most populous country in the world. And therefore, we have to do whatever is possible for our people in case this war drags on for more than 2 or 3 weeks. So I think that's all. I mean, I wanted to say there's no pro or anti this. I appreciate and respect your point of view. I wish peace returns to Ukraine. But I believe that at this point of time, whether Putin or Donald Trump and maybe Xi Jinping tomorrow, you are seeing a different nature of territorial expansion in which the rules-based order is being turned upside down. I thank you both very much for your perspective. Professor Nalapat and Olena Tregup.
Thank you.
Joining us this evening from Thiruvananthapuram and Ireland, respectively. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, as there is talk of Russian oil coming back, as the war spreads into the Caucasus, as Pakistan is threatened from absolutely all sides, and we are all in the crosshairs of a war that Donald Trump started. Once again at 9 p.m., with over 30 countries now involved in the Iran war, I ask tonight, how is this not a world war already? Look at these images. Look at the geographical expansion. How is this not a world war already? When I'm back.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।